At some point in time in segment 3 of the exam, you may be asked to create a gear ratio between a couple components and establish a couple relationships. So to establish a gear ratio between maybe this component over here and this one over here, we want to make sure we're starting the components in their initial state. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of temporary mates. So right over here, click on mate. I'm going to choose this outside surface right here and this one right over here. All right, add that mate and do the same thing right over here on the other side. All right, now we have these two going vertical. So that's our starting condition to start a gear mate. Now the next thing I want to do is come down here to mechanical mates. So under mechanical mates, click on that. You can see we have one called gear. And if I choose the gear, I'm going to go ahead and choose these cylindrical faces over here, and these surfaces might have some gear teeth added to the bottom of that shape. So click on this surface here and then click on the other surface, and notice it gives you a defined gear ratio of 37 to 37, and we have the ability to change that. So I'm going to go ahead and click in here and change that one to 20, and this one over here, let's go ahead and change this one, double click and type in 40. So it's going to be a 2-to-1 ratio, and then go ahead and just click on OK. Now we've established a gear ratio between the two components, but they're fully defined. They can't move because they have that relationship. So we want to go ahead and get rid of these parallel relationships. So go ahead and just suppress this one here and suppress this other one here. And now if you move one component, both components should automatically move in whatever gear ratio you might have defined between the two components. You can also make sure you can always go back to that initial state by turning one of these parallel relationships back on, and both of these should be in that vertical relationship. And you might want to double check that to verify you've established that gear ratio correctly between the two components. More than likely, you might see something pretty similar to this on the exam, so make sure you're able to add the gear ratio, and also make sure that your starting point is where you want it to be before you establish that ratio. That way, everything will come out correctly, and you can generally take a measurement of the angle or something like that after you've moved the components to the angle you might have specified. And you can determine the angle between a couple of components if you're asked to on the exam.